Your expensive LED TV looks stunning, but the sound is terrible. Thin voices, no bass, and action scenes that feel flat. You spent good money on that beautiful display, but you're watching movies with sound quality worse than a cheap Bluetooth speaker. Here's the truth. TV makers gave up on good built-in speakers years ago. Those thin panels cannot fit decent drivers, so they ship TVs with weak audio and expect you to fix it. But here's the good news. The right soundbar transforms that disappointing TV audio into genuine cinematic sound without spending thousands on a full home theater system. I spent weeks comparing the best soundbars of 2026, and these 7 options actually deliver premium sound that matches your premium TV. Before we get into which soundbar works best for your setup and budget, hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you want honest tech recommendations. And tell me in the comments, which soundbar or speakers are you using right now, and what problems are you facing with it? Let's talk about why LED TVs sounds so bad, because understanding the problem helps you pick the right solution. Modern LED TVs are incredibly thin, with panels measuring just a few centimeters thick. That slim profile looks fantastic on your wall, but physics doesn't care about looks. Good speakers need space for drivers to move air and create sound. The bigger the driver, the more air it moves, and the better the bass response. But TV makers cannot fit proper speakers into those thin panels, so they use tiny drivers that fire downward or backward, sometimes measuring just an inch across. These small speakers cannot produce deep bass, cannot get very loud without distortion, and cannot create any sense of space or surround sound. You end up with audio that sounds like it's coming from a tin can, with dialogue buried in the mix, and explosions that sound like desk taps. The problem gets worse with modern content. Streaming services deliver movies and shows with Dolby Atmos soundtracks designed for multi-speaker setups with height channels and subwoofers. When you play that Atmos content through your TV's built-in speakers, all that spatial information gets crushed down into thin stereo sound that completely misses the filmmaker's intent. Action sequences lose impact, music lacks depth, and you find yourself constantly adjusting the volume because dialogue is too quiet but effects are too loud. This is where soundbars come in. A good soundbar adds multiple speakers, dedicated drivers for different frequency ranges, and processing technology that creates a wider soundstage than your TV speakers ever could. The best soundbars include subwoofers for deep bass and support formats like Dolby Atmos to deliver that immersive audio experience streaming services are sending you. But not all soundbars are created equal, and spending more money doesn't automatically mean better sound. Let's break down the 7 soundbars that actually make LED TVs sound premium in 2026. Samsung HWW-Q990F. Starting at the top, Samsung's HWW-Q990F delivers the most complete home theater experience you can get without installing in-ceiling speakers and running wires through your walls. This is an 11.1.4 channel system, which means 11 main speakers, 1 subwoofer, and 4 height channels for overhead Dolby Atmos effects. Samsung includes everything in the box: the main soundbar, a wireless subwoofer, and wireless rear satellite speakers. That complete package costs around $1,700, which sounds expensive until you realize most competitors charge that much for just the soundbar, then make you buy the subwoofer and rear speakers separately for hundreds more. The sound that comes out of this Samsung system is genuinely room-filling in a way that makes you forget you're listening to a soundbar. Samsung packed 23 speakers total across all the components, using their Eclipse audio technology to create a bubble of sound around your viewing position. When you watch action movies, explosions hit with physical impact from that wireless subwoofer. Gunfire and effects swirl around the room through the rear speakers, and overhead sounds like helicopters or rain convincingly appear above you from those upward-firing height channels. The 11.1.4 configuration isn't just marketing numbers. You actually hear the benefit of having this many discrete channels working together to create a 3-dimensional soundstage that extends far beyond the physical speakers. Samsung's SpaceFit sound calibration uses the soundbar's built-in microphones to measure your room and automatically optimize the audio for your specific space. It analyzes reflections, room size, and furniture placement, then adjusts the sound to work best in your environment. This matters because the same soundbar sounds different in a small apartment versus a large living room, and SpaceFit handles that optimization automatically without you needing complicated manual settings. The Samsung also supports HDMI 2.1 with full 4K at 120Hz pass-through, which matters for PS5 and Xbox Series X gamers who want high frame rate gaming without sacrificing audio quality. The real game-changer feature is Q Symphony, which works if you own a Samsung TV. Instead of the TV speaker shutting off when you connect the soundbar, Q Symphony lets both the soundbar and your TV's built-in speakers work together. The TV speakers handle center channel dialogue while the soundbar focuses on effects and surround, creating an even wider soundstage and better dialogue clarity without sacrificing immersion. It sounds gimmicky, but actually works impressively well, adding another dimension to the experience that other brands cannot match unless you happen to own their TVS with similar features. The Samsung HWQ-990F excels with movies and gaming in medium to large rooms. If you have a living room larger than 300 square feet and want maximum immersion without running speaker wires, this Samsung delivers. The included wireless subwoofer digs deep with powerful, tight low end that doesn't just boom, but actually articulates bass notes. Music with deep bass extension sounds full and impactful without becoming muddy or overwhelming the mid-range. The main weakness is that Samsung tunes the system for excitement over accuracy, which means dialogue sometimes gets buried in the mix during explosive scenes. You can adjust the center channel level to fix this, but out of the box, you might find yourself reaching for the remote to boost voices during quiet dialogue scenes. Sonos Arc Ultra. Sonos takes a different approach with the Arc Ultra, focusing on a single premium soundbar that excels on its own, while offering expansion options if you want more. This is a 9.1.4 channel soundbar priced at just under $1,000, and it's become the gold standard for people invested in streaming services and smart home setups. The Arc Ultra uses Sonos' new Sound Motion bass technology, which is a breakthrough design that produces much deeper bass from a smaller driver than traditional speakers. This means the Arc Ultra delivers impressive low end from just the soundbar alone, without requiring a separate subwoofer for decent bass response. The sound signature of the Sonos is balanced and refined, with exceptional dialogue clarity that makes TV shows and movies easy to follow without constantly adjusting volume. Sonos includes a speech enhancement feature that analyzes audio in real time and boosts dialogue frequencies when it detects conversations, without making voices sound unnatural or processed. This is incredibly effective for TV shows, news, and dialogue-heavy movies where understanding every word matters more than explosive surround effects. For seniors or anyone with hearing difficulties, the Sonos delivers the clearest, most intelligible dialogue without needing to crank the volume. TruePlay room calibration is one of Sonos' signature features, and it now works with both iOS and Android devices, which is a major improvement over the previous iOS-only limitation. You use your phone's microphone to walk around your room while the soundbar plays test tones, and TruePlay measures the acoustic properties to optimize the sound for your specific space. The difference after calibration is significant, tightening bass response and improving clarity across all frequencies. The Arc Ultra also excels at music playback, which makes sense given Sonos built their reputation on wireless speakers for music streaming. The tonal balance is smooth with clean highs, present mids, and adequate bass that doesn't overpower. Listening to Spotify or Apple Music, the Sonos sounds more like a quality stereo system than a soundbar, with instruments separated and vocals natural and forward. The Atmos implementation on the Arc Ultra improved 30% over the previous Arc model in both spatial accuracy and bass depth. Overhead effects have genuine presence, with height channels creating convincing verticality for helicopters flying overhead or rain falling from the ceiling. The soundstage is wide but controlled, giving you immersion without the artificial processing artifacts some competitors produce. Where the Arc Ultra shines brightest is ecosystem integration. If you already own Sonos speakers throughout your home, the Arc Ultra becomes your home theater hub while seamlessly connecting to your existing Sonos setup. You can add Sonos wireless subwoofers or rear speakers later if you want more bass or true surround, but the Arc Ultra sounds impressive on its own without requiring immediate expansion. The main limitation is that Sonos doesn't include HDMI 2.1 with high frame rate gaming support, which matters if you're a serious console gamer. The Arc Ultra supports HDMI IEARC for audio return from your TV, but it won't pass through 4K at 120 Hz for gaming. For movie watchers and music listeners, this doesn't matter. For gamers wanting the latest features, it's a notable omission at this price point. The Sonos Arc Ultra is perfect for people who prioritize dialogue clarity, music playback, and smart home integration over raw home theater power. It works beautifully in small to medium rooms and offers the best user experience with the Sonos app and voice control through Alexa or Google Assistant. Sony Bravia Theater Bar 9. Sony brings their audio engineering expertise with the Bravia Theater Bar 9, a 7.1.2 channel soundbar priced at about $1,400 that prioritizes spatial accuracy and precision over brute force impact. This soundbar does some things better than the competition, though it requires add-ons to reach its full potential. Sony uses their 360 spatial sound mapping technology, which measures your room with built-in microphones and optimizes the soundbar to create accurate three-dimensional audio specific to your space. The result is a soundstage with exceptional imaging where you can pinpoint exactly where sounds are coming from in space, rather than just hearing generalized surround effects. Watching movies on the Sony, dialogue is exceptionally clear and natural. Voices sound realistic without artificial enhancement or boosting. The center channel integration is precise, anchoring dialogue to the screen so it feels like actors are actually speaking instead of just sound coming from a speaker. This clarity extends through the mid-range where most of the movie soundtrack lives. Instruments and music scores are distinct and separated, and subtle sound effects like footsteps, clothing rustling, or objects being handled come through with detail and realism that more aggressive soundbars sometimes obscure with their bombastic approach. The Atmos implementation on the Sony is wide and accurate, but less dramatic than Samsung's room-shaking experience. Overhead effects are present and you can hear verticality, but they feel more subtle and refined rather than in-your-face obvious. This might appeal to purists who want natural-sounding immersion, but for casual viewers expecting wow factor overhead effects, the Sony feels restrained by comparison. The Theater Bar 9 supports both Dolby Atmos and DTS:X, giving you format flexibility that some competitors lack. Here's where Sony stumbles. Bass. The Theater Bar 9 without the optional subwoofer lacks deep low-end impact. Action scenes feel thin, music without substantial bass loses weight and power, and explosions sound more like loud noise than physical events. Sony expects you to buy their wireless subwoofer separately, adding another $500 to $700 to the total system cost. Once you add the sub, bass improves dramatically and the Sony becomes competitive with Samsung in low-end performance. But that means you're spending over $2,000 to get the complete experience versus Samsung giving you everything for $1,700. The same goes for rear speakers. The Sony sounds impressive for a soundbar without rear speakers, creating a surprisingly wide soundstage and decent surround effects through processing. But compare it to Samsung with actual rear speakers and the difference is obvious. Sony's strength is integration with Sony TVs through acoustic center sync. Similar to Samsung's Q Symphony, if you have a compatible Sony Bravia TV, the TV speakers work with the soundbar to enhance center channel dialogue and create a taller soundstage. This works beautifully if you're in the Sony ecosystem, but it's useless if you own any other TV brand. The Sony Bravia Theater Bar 9 is best for people who already own Sony TVs and want precision spatial audio with the flexibility to expand later. If you're not in the Sony ecosystem and you need to buy the subwoofer and rear speakers to get complete performance, the value proposition becomes questionable compared to the competition. KEF takes a purist approach with the XIO, a 5.1.2 channel soundbar that costs about $2,000 and targets people who care more about music reproduction quality than home theater explosions. KEF built their reputation making high-end hi-fi speakers. and the XIO brings that audio engineering expertise to the Soundbar format. The signature feature is KEF's UniQ driver technology, which places the tweeter in the center of the mid-range driver. This creates a single-point source for sound, improving imaging and creating a more coherent soundstage than traditional speakers where the tweeter and mid-range are separated. The XIO includes KEF's Music Integrity Engine, which is a processing suite designed to preserve audio fidelity when playing music through streaming services. Most soundbars apply heavy digital signal processing that colors the sound, boosting bass and treble to create excitement at the expense of accuracy. KEF's approach maintains tonal balance and detail, making the XIO sound more like a stereo system than a typical soundbar. If you spend as much time streaming music as you do watching movies, the KEF delivers the most refined listening experience of any soundbar on this list. The tonal balance is neutral and accurate, with smooth highs that never sound harsh, detailed mids that bring out instrument texture, and controlled bass that doesn't overpower the rest of the frequency range. Listening to jazz or classical music, you hear the space and air around instruments that most soundbars compress out. Vocals are natural and realistic, without the artificial boosting that makes dialogue clear, but unnatural on some competitors. For movies, the KEF provides excellent dialogue clarity and a wide soundstage, but it lacks the raw impact and drama of the Samsung or the spatial processing tricks of the Sony. The Atmos implementation is competent but not spectacular. The XIO creates a sense of height and space, but overhead effects don't jump out at you the way they do on soundbars tuned for maximum theater impact. KEF designed the XYO to support future expansion with optional rear speakers, but as of early 2026, those haven't shipped yet. Without rear speakers, you get a convincing front soundstage, but not true surround immersion. The KEF XIO is expensive at $2,000 for what is essentially a 5.1.2 soundbar, without a subwoofer or rear speakers included. You're paying for premium build quality, driver technology, and audio engineering, rather than speaker count or feature lists. This soundbar makes sense for people who own high-end stereo systems and want a soundbar that maintains that level of audio fidelity for TV and movies without compromising their music listening. If you care deeply about how music sounds and you want one device that handles both TV and serious music listening, the KEF justifies its premium price. If you mainly watch movies and want maximum home theater impact, spending $2,000 on the KEF makes less sense than buying the Samsung system with full surround for less money. Bose Smart Ultra. Bose brings the Smart Ultra, a 5.1.2 channel soundbar priced at just under $900 that prioritizes dialogue clarity and ease of use in a compact package. This is Bose's current flagship soundbar, featuring their signature balanced sound and AI-enhanced dialogue processing in a slim design that disappears into your living room, rather than dominating it like the Samsung's large components. The Smart Ultra uses Bose's true space processing technology to create a wider soundstage than the physical size would suggest, giving you a sense of immersion from a soundbar that measures much smaller than the competition. The standout feature is AI Dialogue Mode, which analyzes audio in real time and intelligently boosts dialogue frequencies. This makes voices exceptionally clear without sounding unnatural. For dialogue-heavy content, the Bose delivers the clear speech of any soundbar. People with hearing difficulties or those who constantly use subtitles will find the Bose transforms their viewing experience. The Smart Ultra includes Adapt IQ calibration, which measures your room acoustics and optimizes the soundbar. Music playback shows Bose's audio pedigree with refined tonal balance and smooth sound that's enjoyable for long sessions without fatigue. The Atmos implementation is the weakest of flagship options. Height effects are barely noticeable, and Bose uses processing to virtualize Atmos rather than creating true height channels. For Atmos enthusiasts, the Bose disappoints, but for everyday TV watching, it works fine. Bass without the optional bass module is adequate but limited. Action movies and deep bass music feel incomplete. Add Bose's bass module for another $800 and you're at $1,700 total, which is poor value compared to Samsung's complete package. The Bose makes sense for small to medium rooms, prioritizing dialogue clarity over maximum home theater impact. JBL Bar 500. JBL's Bar 500 delivers solid performance at $500 to $600, making it the best value option. This 5.1 channel soundbar includes a detachable wireless subwoofer, giving you a complete system where competitors offer only the soundbar alone. The Bar 500 includes pure voice dialogue enhancement and room correction that optimizes sound for your space. The sound signature is balanced for mixed use, handling TV shows, movies, and music reasonably well. Atmos support is through virtualization, creating subtle effects without physical height channels. Build quality is decent with reliable wireless subwoofer pairing. It includes HDMI EARC, optical, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi connectivity, but lacks HDMI 2.1 for high frame rate gaming. At $500 to $600, this is the sweet spot for value. Perfect for apartments, bedrooms, or secondary TVS. Marshall Heston 120. Marshall's Heston 120 costs about $900 and looks like a guitar amplifier. This is the most design-focused option with vintage styling, textured vinyl covering, and classic Marshall logo appealing to those who want their audio gear to make a visual statement. The sound signature emphasizes clear dialogue and mid-range presence. It supports Dolby Atmos and includes HDMI 2.1 pass-through for gaming. Atmos performance is decent without dramatic overhead effects. At $900, you're paying for Marshall brand and aesthetic plus solid audio performance. The Heston 120 doesn't include a subwoofer, and bass response is limited. For small rooms without earth-shaking bass needs, the built-in bass is adequate. The Marshall appeals to those who value design as much as performance. For design statement, the Marshall Heston 120 at $900 brings vintage styling with solid performance. LED TVs need audio help, and the right soundbar transforms your experience without full home theater installation. Consider your room size, content type, and compatible TV features. Don't assume expensive means better. The JBL proves great sound at half the flagship price. Soundbars with included components like Samsung offer better value than those requiring separate purchases. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and comment which soundbar you're choosing and why.